I got married very young. I got married when I was 19 and I moved from Calcutta to Delhi. Each and every individual in that family was a very strong personality. I was a very timid, very meek person, had no identity of my own.
You came from a completely different setup, and then here you come into somewhere where everybody has an identity and you're just one of the family members. That must have required a lot of emotional resilience.
In India, we have the joint families, we have, younger people coming. Many challenges of that, of aligning around larger values, objectives, goals, which is brilliant, right? It keeps, in terms of crisis and all, it really keeps the family, the country stronger.
So there was this want in my husband's head, not mine at that time. For me, it was an opportunity. I started my business very late in my life. I started it almost when I was 39 years old, when I started Arttd'inox. I started actually understanding myself with it.
When 20 years she used that sanskar of nurturing, of creating, of adapting, of adjusting, and then at the age of 39 when that business opportunity came, the sanskars for the business were ready.
To me, Arttd'inox is I feel it's my breath. In Arttd'inox, we used to do kitchens. We had started doing kitchens, which I've just shut that unit down. When my husband took that decision, if I was not in this knowledge, I would be completely distraught. I would be in my realm of complete depression. I would be so in anger towards my spouse.
A very warm welcome to another edition of the ThinkRight podcast. And today we have with us Deepika Jindal, the creative director and MD of Jindal Lifestyle. What she has been able to create, from the renowned Jindal family, is an identity of her own, which has actually taken stainless steel and, made it a lifestyle brand. She's the MD of Jindal Lifestyle and has created this brand called Arttd'inox, which many of you have been able to experience and touch. And the design capabilities of that are such that the Red Dot Award, which she has been bestowed with, is one that only companies like Apple, Ferrari, Bose have been recognized with. It's really bringing creativity and design at the core. I mean, we all know that creativity and design is innate and natural to most people, but how do you tap into that source and how do you really create something from there? Not only that will shape what you do as work and as business, but shape your life and the life of many others. She's a great philanthropist and someone who has dedicated her life to education, healthcare in more ways than one. Very, very warm welcome to you, Deepika, and thank you for joining us here on this podcast today. And of course, to guide us through this wonderful conversation, we have our spiritual mentor, guide, Sister Shivani. Thank you. You're ever radiant, and we bask in your radiance, and really see how we can make a meaningful conversation that will help many of our viewers who are watching this podcast today. So, as we move into this conversation, Deepika, I mean, you have achieved so much, one just goes around looking at the different things you've been able to do. But take us a little bit through your early days, through your journey, as you have been going about, building your own brand, from a renowned, recognized family to be able to create this, work with steel, so many aspects, about your journey. And I'm sure in each of those will lie a story and some inspiration for many to learn from.
Thank you so much for having me here today. Yes, it's been a very interesting and challenging journey for me. I got married very young. I got married when I was 19 and I moved from Calcutta to Delhi. And I came into this huge family. We lived as a joint family, and each and every individual in that family was a very strong personality. I think from my father-in-law to all the sons he had, they were very, very strong, very, very individualistic. And I came from a very protected and a very conservative background, because my mom, I was her first child and she was very particular as to how we would, be brought up. So when I came here, I actually felt a little lost because I came as a very simple person and I really didn't have any much things to do. So my husband, he looks after the stainless steel part of the business, and I started my business very late in my life. I started it almost when I was 39 years old. And that time my children were almost ready to leave home and go, because there's a very short gap between both my kids. So they almost left home all together. And this business came because my husband, India never had a brand like stainless steel. And it was very, very a poor man's material, very, very for the, the low end, for the back end of a kitchen. It was never a product for the front end of your homes. And internationally, stainless steel was always very well accepted and was very well styled. And so there was this want in my husband's head, not mine at that time, that, somebody has to do something with stainless steel, and, we have to find somebody who can do this and create this products out of it. And I think he didn't find any takers, because it's a very difficult business to do. And there was no precedence of it from before, that somebody was already doing it. So he just, on a very, I think he had no choice, but he asked me that, why don't you do something? So, for me, it was an opportunity. And that's how this whole thought process started. And I just jumped. I didn't even know there was no startup at those times. We had never heard of startup. I had no idea. I had never done business. I was a proper housewife, typical traditional housewife of Indian homes, taking care of family, children. And that's what my world was all about. And then when he told me this, I said, yes, I'm going to do it. And I put all my heart and soul. And it's very interesting, the whole journey, because I said, I need people. I don't know anything about technical. I don't know anything about business. So he said, I don't have people, because they are into manufacturing and, B2B,
mindset.
very different.
Yeah.
So he said, I have this one guy who's in the company who's technically very sound, and he's free. So you take him. So I said, fine, at least I have someone I can, sort of have a discussion with or something. So I started with him, and I remember when I started, and I didn't have a manufacturing, because it was just supposed to be creating some interesting, so we had to outsource it to small time vendors and all. So when I started doing this, and when I made some products, and I sort of showed it to this technical man just to take his feedback of how it is and all, he said, ma'am, ये तो बिकेगा नहीं, ये तो 100 something, he said, ग्राम का है, इसमें तो आपको 50 रुपया मिलेगा. I looked at him, I said, what kind of person is he, He's just looking at the weight and telling me that it's going to sell in this man. I said, this is design, And it was like nobody understood what design was in this. It was really, every step to find designers who could create with stainless steel, to find a manufacturing setup. So every step, it was a learning for me. And I think for me, it was my own learning, my own growth. I think it was something I say God sent from the very beginning when this business came into me, because I think in the entire Jindal family, like if you say proper business, nobody's doing. And my father-in-law's family is huge. They're doing clothes, they're doing other kinds of things, but proper industrial business, I'm the only one who's got this opportunity. So I always used to feel there is some divine element to this whole purpose. There's something, because I never even created it in my head. It just came to me. And every step of the way, there was so much challenges, because the whole thing about retail, whether it's design, whether it's manufacturing, everything was a learning. Everything was a learning. And I don't know how it just kept going on and on. So it was very interesting. I think it's like my baby. It started, I grew with this brand. I became who I am today because of it. So I'm very grateful also.
Yeah, no, and I'll turn to Sister Shivani, because you mentioned that this is, sometimes you feel it's a divine intervention, because it's your journey, your life. How does one explain this?
That's what, like we always say, it's the journey of the soul. So it's not the journey of this body, which was 39 years old that time. It's also not the journey of the entire family. So even though we are part of a family, everyone has to remember that. We are part of a family, but the journey of the soul is individual. Because everyone in that family is on that individual journey also while they are together. So being together in that family would be a period of let's say 100 years if we say. So we are with those set of souls for 100 years. But I, the soul, my journey is long. So I had a journey before coming into this costume. I have a journey after this costume. She has a journey before being part of this family, and she will have a journey after this also. So while we say we are all about where we are and with who we are, that's only a very, very small part of our journey. Our journey is individual. And that's why we always have to remember that while being with everyone, while doing everything that you're doing, prioritize your karma and your sanskar, because that's the only thing which stays with you. That's the only thing you have complete power on because you're creating it. That's the only thing which creates your destiny, and that's the only thing which goes with you. So everything is there for you, but what is with you is only your sanskar and karam. So that should be the priority, and then you radiate that sanskar and karam in everything that you do and with who you are. So that's what she has shown very clearly, that it's just come to her. So even though she was part of a business family, but no business experience, but the sanskar and the karam has created that magic.
And how have you strengthened yourself? How do you get the grit and courage to do
it? It so happened that I think, as I said, it was a learning for me, because when I came in, I was a very timid, very, very meek person, had no identity of my own. So when I started Arttd'inox, I started actually understanding myself with it. I started seeing what I really am, what is my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and I started feeling good about myself. You know, when you're lost in a large space, you don't know where you are, you're just at the beck and call of everybody else, but you don't know what is your role. And that was the time actually my spiritual journey really started. Spirituality in India is very different, because earlier it's all religious, like you do this fast, you want that, you do this fast, you want... It's very different, but there was always this desire for me to understand myself. And you know, when you see in a larger family, there are disparities, there are differences, there are good days, there are bad days, there are different personalities you're dealing with every day. And if you are a seeker from inside now, you don't like those emotions you're dealing with, but you are not able to get out of them also, because you are a part of them. So it used to really unruffle me as to be very, very affected by this. I'm very emotional actually. I'm a very sensitive human being, which is sometimes not too good. But I used to always feel a lot. So this Arttd'inox really helped me to understand, and it helped me understand why everybody in this world have different, even though you're in the same family, some have better things going for them, some don't. So it helped me start understanding why all this is happening in our lives. And so it was like a journey with sheer, you know, as you say, low to sheer understanding to a better space. So this whole process was almost like from a caterpillar to a butterfly for me.
and I'm sure while scaling the business, you know, like what you said, the challenges at different points in time would have been different.
Yes.
Right? And you know, you would have heard good things, bad
absolutely.
Things, navigating. I
have a very strong critic in my husband who's always there to tell me what not I'm doing well.
Always easier, no, to say what, because everybody, you know, has an opinion.
If I don't tell, then who will? So I said, not all the time.
And that's when you need that inner resilience to, you know, to laugh over it and say, yes, thank you, but,
True.
you know, we'll go into the next dimension. You know, I think this attitude to anything one does in life is so important, because like what you said, you may not have had the skills, you get an opportunity. What takes one from one point to another? At least the journey has to be enjoyable, right? At the end of the day, it should be a happy journey, whatever. And because you know that the accomplishment there is not really the source. How does one bring oneself into that, you know, on that journey, right? Because many people like you. I mean, this could be an inspiration for many people. See, India, we have the joint families. We have, you know, younger people coming. Many challenges of that, of aligning around larger values, objectives, goals, which is brilliant, right? It keeps, in terms of crisis and all, it really keeps the family, the country stronger. But at the same time, that expression of what you said, individuality, others getting joy in the success of one member of the family, and especially if someone's married into the family. How does all of that, how would you hope that people look at it collectively?
But if we see her journey, so she got married at the age of 90, and then she started, this opportunity came to her at 39. So 20 years. Now 20 years, first when she got married, she came from a completely different setup. And then here you come into somewhere where everybody has an identity and you're just one of the family members. That must have required a lot of emotional resilience. A lot of adjustments, letting go, adapting, creating, nurturing. Nurturing would have been her predominant sanskar as the nurturer of the family. So when 20 years she used that sanskar of nurturing, of creating, of adapting, of adjusting, of listening to something. Everybody's not going to say nice things to you or nice things about you. And then at the age of 39, when that business opportunity came, the sanskars for the business were ready. The sanskars were ready. It's only that you were first using those sanskars as a family. Now you're using it with this baby. So it is the sanskar. Every time everybody needs to understand the business that I'm doing is about my sanskars. It's not just about skills. We always look at the skill set of a business or a skill set of a job. It's the sanskar of the person. If she doesn't have the sanskar of nurturing, if she doesn't have the sanskar of adapting, adjusting, she wouldn't have been able to go through all this. So it is always the sanskar. So always when you're choosing what to do, you also need to see whether you have the sanskar to do that, or if not, then you have to create that sanskar. So the being will only come out in the doing. Somebody else might not have been able to do the same thing with the same opportunity because the being would not have that sanskar. So today we're not talking about the sanskar of the person. We're just talking marks, degree, qualification, and then opportunity. Where the sanskar of the person, that's not. So even a profession that I will choose, if I want to be a doctor, I will need to check, do I have compassion? Do I have that caring feeling? Am I ready to do anything just for the well-being of the other person? If I don't, I should not go into that profession. So if I am more money, then the healthcare is not for me to go and become a... So we have to check the sanskar. So she's only had that perfect set of sanskars which she went and put in the business. Success here will obviously create success there also.
No, and it's so interesting because the thing that you worked with is steel, right? I mean, which what you rightly said, because even in our manufacturing, I remember Diwali, we used to always call the wives of the manufacturing workers. And only thing they used to increase is the quantity of steel weight-wise, because that was the wealth of the family, right? Then there's silver and then there's gold. Of course, today, gold has become unaffordable, rare, but steel used to be what you rightly said. And we were, as something you had value, you never brought design. But if you take it gold, your jewelry you can create, why can't you do something with steel? That thought, that innovation, and today when you design, and to get a design award, how did the design element actually, that sanskar, how did that unleash? Was it you? Was it a team of people?
Sister Shivani just said, you develop those sanskars that you've got from childhood even till the time I started my work. Being a housewife, you learn a lot. Because when you come to a large family, there's so many occasions in your life where you are creating. You're creating for marriages, you're creating for babies, you're creating for occasions. So I think somewhere, I've always felt everybody has some talent, some innate, good thoughts and good designs in their head. And how I work is that I look at myself as the customer. I look at myself is that if I'm creating what I'm creating, because I don't have a design degree. I'm not a designer by profession. I don't know any of these AutoCADs. I don't know. I have a team who's working under me. But I know exactly what I want for myself and what the people around me are looking for. So that was really my benchmark in deciding what I want to create. And luckily, because I have my own manufacturing setup, I said we can be individual, different. Because we don't have to do what everybody else is doing. We can make our own. So that both really helped me create whatever I do today. So I look at it as myself as the customer. And then I think that, will I pay this much? Will I like this product? Because you're well traveled, you see a lot of things all over, so you know what is there. So sometimes it takes your own perseverance to continue with a product. Like sometimes they say, ma'am, it's not selling. I say, just give it some more time. Just let it be there. And there have been times when things have really worked. So I've always looked at myself in that position of being the buyer and not as the owner or the manufacturer. And that's helped me go all this way.
Everyone says, put yourself in the customer's shoes. You actually live it.
Absolutely.
And,
that's what I've done.
And it's funny because design is very abstract. Like a same car can get designed to be something. Like we manufacture watches, one of our businesses, but we are the economy brand. The same factory in Shenzhen in China that manufactures our watches is where some of the largest Swiss brand watches are manufactured, which are priced 100 times, 1,000 times more than that, because the cost is not it. It's the marketing, the aura, the packaging, and what you said, going into the mind of a customer who wants that product. We always say India, and this is a big shift happening when a poor country is becoming richer. We always used to say, everybody in India is looking, value for money. Today, actually, there's money for value. Like people are saying, I've got the money, but, can I get a social acceptance because I own a car of this? Then you're not looking at, is there value in that? It's been driven by a different mindset, right? And it's important because, as we evolve as a society and in a country where, 100 million will shift from one economic layer to another, we are going to be the wealthiest country again in maybe the next 2 decades, with a lot of wealth. And people will spend, on products that have got intuitively, more value there. When we think of this shift in society, in this products like this, how do you look at the future of that? And
what I understand is, I think, there is this 2 groups of individuals or, society structures where you are trying to be what you want others to perceive you. And there is there's a group which has its own identity, and they don't care what others think about themselves because they have that
comfort.
They feel good enough for themselves, and they don't care whether they use a mug or they use a gold glass or they use whatever. It's their lifestyle, and it doesn't matter. So I think it depends where you are and how you've been from within, because today's kids, I see there is this group in our generation, my generation, and one above us, and then there are our kids. They are a different mindset completely. For them, it's not about gold and silver. It's about what they want. For them, maybe jewelry, like today, in our generation, jewelry was very important thing. Today, our youngsters don't want jewelry. They want to travel well. They want to stay in good hotels. They want to live that kind of life. They are not interested in, there are a few like all these brands also, but that's not their world anymore. So it's where you come from, what you've received as a child. Sometimes you've not received much, so you want. Sometimes you've had it all. So for them, it's really not necessary. Their identity doesn't come from all this. Their identity is having a good time, good life, enjoying themselves. That's their life. And some who have struggled and want to make it big. So today's world is very unique. It's very individual. I think everybody's got their own bubble. Everybody's working according to their needs and all. You cannot stereotype. Even businesses now run in such different ways. There was a time when everything used to be the same. Now, one day it's this, tomorrow it's changed.
Yeah.
So you have to adapt. So there is a whole new world today. You can't understand anybody. You really can't do it.
Yeah.
Your way of thinking, your children's way of thinking is very different.
Yeah. So you have to stay plugged in to what is changing.
You have to understand where they are coming from, because nobody is the typical of, it's not like, okay, there are certain sanskars or certain habits you have of your parents or your children have of yours, but they are not you. They're not you. Like, I may be more like my mother. My daughter is completely different from me.
We were talking earlier.
Because influence of the outer world has been more in these last few years. Earlier, our influence was that circle,
I'm sure, yes.
Our parents, our teachers. But then along with all the One is, of course, global traveling, and of course, content. So the influence was going to groom the personality. So personality is changing very fast and at a very younger age.
No, and you were saying, right, the time and
the self.
So the self are both competing to who's changing faster. So as the time is changing, there's a need to strengthen the self. You need your own space. You need, to be able to derive that strength. And I know you're spending, the early mornings meditating, and take us a little bit through your day. How are you getting that strength? How has your life changed since you have started to, at least bring that more into your life as you've grown?
From a very early age, I was a seeker. I was looking for God, and I've done extreme number of modalities in my life. I think I have not left anything. I've not continued for very long, but I've done everything. And I used to always find something missing somewhere. And before I joined this practice of rajyoga meditation, I was doing Buddhist chanting. And I did it for 4 years. I did it religiously. I did all the exams. But I always felt that there was a larger being above us. Something was there which was guiding us. And I remember the first day when I got this knowledge. It doesn't take me a minute to even ask this question, what is this all about? Because it actually is different from what you've really learned. I mean, different in a certain way from what you've seen through your life. And it was like a switch on button in my head. I said, all these years I was looking for this. It took me, I think my spiritual journey started around 30, although I was very much, I came from a very spiritual household, so it wasn't that I wasn't connected then, but my personal journey started when I was 30. And I got this knowledge when I was 56. So you can imagine, I had done Gita, I had done everything under the sun. I had not left anything. Sadhguru, Sri Ravi Shankar, inner engineering. I've traveled abroad. I was just finding myself. Who is this person inside me? What is it why is it wanting to change, but I cannot change myself? There is something that is there I cannot change. And when I got this knowledge, it was exactly what I wanted. I want to change my inner world. I just wanted to be a human being that I'm in love with the world, whatever they may be. I don't want to have negative emotions, feelings. I don't want to carry this burden of feeling not so good about someone and good about someone. How do I stop that in my head? How do I stop this, these desires or these wants or someone is having more than I am and I'm not very happy that day, or I've got some, there are these small silly things, but there are certain things that just keep coming. And when you are in a big family with so many different people, you always keep facing it on an everyday basis. I live with my mother-in-law, with my brother-in-laws, their wives. It's not like I'm living alone with my just spouse and my children. So when this knowledge came, this got me those techniques. Everything that I was facing in my everyday life, I had no backlog or back thoughts. I didn't have that nagging. I didn't have that. Everything I accepted. There have been so many changes at work even now in my business. But if I had the same change, which, like in Arttd'inox, we used to do kitchens. We had started doing kitchens, which I've just shut that unit down. To me, Arttd'inox is I feel it's my breath, because as I said, it was something I had started. My products are still there. But to me, that's my life, I would say, along with my children. But when my husband took that decision, if I was not in this knowledge, I would be completely distraught. I would be in my realm of complete depression. In my inner world, maybe I wouldn't have done anything that way, but I would be so in anger towards my spouse, with everybody in the world, with, I've done so much, I've been so good, I've done this, I've done that, and still I have to face all this, what's the problem, but nothing came. The day he told me, I just said, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine, and it's not going to destroy my world. My inner world and my outer world is not going to get destroyed. Otherwise, I would have sat and complained about this to every individual I would have met in my house, or my parents, or anybody. I don't think I've shared this with anybody. It doesn't bother me anymore. People ask me, I said, I'm sorry, I've stopped doing the kitchens now. So I see it. I'm surprised with my own self. I see with my kids how I relate to them. I have a daughter-in-law, I have a son, I have a daughter, I have a son-in-law, I have grandchildren. Everybody is doing their own thing. In a household like ours, where we have been told to follow T, mother-in-law says sit, child is supposed to sit. Father-in-law said that, you can't question. But today's generation is changing. It just takes you a minute to change with them. Otherwise, they've changed, but you are not changed. You're sitting and cribbing, or you're in your head, your thoughts are revolving morning, evening, and then you'll get upset on some silly thing on them. All this has changed. Acceptability, freedom from within, joy in life, happiness in small things. There's a smile on my face. Otherwise, I wasn't a very smiling person. I was a very quiet person, but I was not very happy from inside, because I've seen so much that sometimes I would feel that, where is the world going? What am I doing? And now all those ifs, buts, confusion, and I never used to get up before 7 a.m. and I used to think I need 8 hours of sleep. I cannot suffer. The next day, if I didn't sleep 8 hours, I would be like dead. I would think, aaj to mere se kuch nahi ho sakta, I'm too sleepy. Today I get up at 3:30 in the morning. I do my Amrit Vela. I don't sleep in the day. I sleep in the night. And I still function. People, my friends, they all say, are you crazy? My husband also says, you're going to fall sick. You don't sleep. I said, I'm fine. If I need to sleep, I'll sleep. But, it's so empowering, this whole journey, this whole knowledge. It's changed my life. I don't know, nobody in my family, in my husband's side of the family, follows this practice. But I feel I'm in a different space, and I'm sure they agree to the same. They don't say it very...
So you have to see the outcome, right?
Yeah,
and it's so simple. Everyone says change yourself to change the world, to change your situation. We use it, but we don't actually do it.
Yeah,
I've changed
my space. I've just changed my space. And as we say, we don't have... Things around me have not changed. I don't think everybody's changed around me. I've changed. I see things in a very different perspective. And that's the reason why I want to share this knowledge with everybody. And when I look at why God put me in this place in my company, I realize that if I wasn't doing my work, I wouldn't be able to infiltrate into the business, because it's very strongly guarded by family members. It's not like I can step in and say, I want to have this program, I want to do this seva in my company. They would say no. So, but today I have that inroads. So I've been able to do it. So I just feel that somewhere the divine plays, that's why I say, divine plays its role. He knows where to place somewhere and how.
It's amazing.
I understand every dots in my life very clearly today. I had a lot of questions before.
You covered so many aspects of your life, your journey. We talk of changing the mind, changing yourself, your discipline, the way you live your life today compared to what it was, the joy you get, and how you've been able to come to that state. How do we get more and more people, to understand and appreciate? Maybe we need many Deepikas. When you see the world change, because you meet so many people, Shivani, how do people, when you talk to them, what do you get when
the two words that she used was inner world and outer world. So even the body is outer world. The inner world is only this. So inner world is the world of my intentions, my thoughts, feelings, emotions. That's inner world. Many of us are not spending time understanding that inner world. So if I'm not able to understand that inner world, then I can't understand you, I cannot understand her, because whoever we are meeting the inner world of that person. Even though we've met each other for the outer world business transaction, but the communication is going to be between two inner worlds. So we're not able to understand the other person. So then being critical about them, even if it's just in my mind, being judgmental, holding on to resentment, we called all this as normal. So obviously, if you're not like me, I'm not going to like certain things about you. We said it's normal. And that is the reason why this emotional health kept depleting. So like Deepika ji shared, she understood herself. So that's Rajyoga. Rajyoga means first to understand the self, then connect to that highest power, and then living a life of awareness. One, you begin with your morning meditation. Many of us meditate in the morning, right? In the world also. But then we keep our spiritual time only as that morning time. In Rajyoga, it's not like this at Brahma Kumaris. Your 24 hours are under that monitoring, because that is the purpose of your life. Like business is the purpose of your life, taking care of this is the purpose of our life. So even while we're doing everything, even when I'm talking to you, my one eye is on what am I thinking. That's priority. And if something goes wrong there, I will pause and check and change. So once you start doing that, so then that's what she says, the way now I'm interacting with people, the way I'm thinking about people, everything changes. So her that little practice has changed her inner world. And now look at this powerful thing of a baby you created with all the effort that must have gone into it, but all the challenges that went into it. And then suddenly, I don't know the story behind it, but it seems that suddenly she had to stop that part of her business. It's not easy, right? Especially when it's become your identity. So that's why she said, 4 years back, if this would have happened, I would have gone into depression. This is what we were talking, that if my startup or if what I have started doesn't go through where I can go into depression. Why? Because it's become my identity. Now, because she was going on this journey, now the business is separate and my identity is separate. And I've energized my identity. I've strengthened myself so much. It's like a child from whom you take away the toy. The child is still smiling and happy. But if the toy is my identity, then I'm not ready to give up that toy. So this is such a blissful way of living. I mean, this is something that everybody needs to understand, that we are just focused so much on the outer world, but we are saying, I don't have time for the inner world, and it's not our priority also. But then our outer world is reflecting all those issues, because the outer world is only a reflection of the inner world, but we're not taking care of the inner world. So it's reflecting in our physical health, it's reflecting in our relationships, it's reflecting in our mental health, it's reflecting in our professional health, it's reflecting in our environmental health also. Just start taking care of the inner world, everything else starts falling into place.
Yeah. And we are on a subject of luxury, and we are talking lifestyle, and we are.
This is also lifestyle now.
The abundance.
This is lifestyle.
No, the way, yeah.
This is most important lifestyle.
The most important of a rich lifestyle,
Absolutely.
which is not money driven, but something everybody can achieve.
Richness is not money anymore.
It's not at all. It never was. If you go to see, because it's the only thing that, that sense of abundance, that, like what you said, the energy you get. Like I wake up at 4:30, same thing, right? You wake up early, the energy you get, the outlook you have, and then to sustain that. Many people say we're seeking enlightenment. If you're in that state of awareness 24/7, I mean, your journey, your life, everything you do is blissful. It doesn't matter whether you're working, whether you're with your kids. So it is a shift in the way you need to make to your life. But you've now seen this shift. You said, from 30 you started, and now 4 years, sustaining it is the key, right? Because you will get, a challenge, and then sometimes a crisis, and, you still ride over. And I'm sure you've been through these bumps, Tell us some instances as to what did it take to, I'm sure you got dislodged, you came back. How did that?
See,
and today you're stable enough to say that it's there?
See, for me, as I said, there were a lot of challenges, because running a brand which is very unique to the country and very different in terms of its products and the material, everything was different to what people had normally seen or would spend on. And it wasn't a cheap material because of the way it's been made and designed, and you pay your taxes and everything. So the product does become expensive once it comes on retail. But so there were times when business really did well, and there were times when things were almost at a standstill, whether it should continue or should it stop. But I mean, that time I didn't have Rajyoga to guide me. But I always felt, as I said from the very beginning, that it was some divine intervention. So I would surrender I mean, may not be immediately. It took me time to surrender to the thought that whatever happens will happen best for me. Today I'm in a situation where I cannot do anything. I'm not capable of doing anything, but I leave it. And I've realized that in my life that has helped me get a lot of things which I felt was not going to be mine, by surrendering to the larger universe. The day my mind said that I'm ready to let go of this, if it's not for me, I'm not going to take it, I'll leave it. I mean, and I'm saying it not because it's not like today I said it. It may have taken me months to come to that conclusion. But the day I left control over the situation, that I am the doer there, it just changed. It just changed. I mean, even it took me some time. I mean, I can say I have a daughter. I come from a very, very traditional family, and everybody else had got married, and my son got married before her, and he's younger to her, which was never done in our family ever. And she was about 34, 35, and she was not married. And I used to always stress a lot on that, because for us in our family, she was the only person in the family who was yet not married, and everybody else had married and at her age and settled and all. And I used to always stress on the fact that, and I would tell myself, it's okay, I don't think I'm fine, she doesn't get married. But my mind was not letting go. My mind was still in that space of fear and what will happen. And luckily, the practice also came at almost at the similar time when this aspect was there. And I just told myself, actually, I'm absolutely fine. She's a happy child. She's happy where she is. I don't care if she doesn't get married. The day I let go of the doership, that I don't have to do anything about it and I can't do anything about it, she found herself a partner. So I have seen this, where things which are very, very important to me, certain things in your life may not be I want it, but it's not that you drop it. But I've realized that you have no control. What is to come to you will come to you. You are not the doer of everything. You have to do your work. You have to live your life. It's not like you sit down and do nothing. But don't become the controller of the outcome. And I have seen this in the two most important parts in my life, whether it came to my work or whether it came to my child. And like my son, I didn't even think I'll get him married, and he got married on his own much before and settled. I was saying, where did this come from? I didn't even bother about him, because you know how it is. And the person who had my full attention on, she took her time, and I realized that God was trying to tell me something, that you are not the doer. And of course, and it was the same year I started Rajyoga, is the time she got married. And it just helped me in the process of detachment from the thought that I am supposed to do what I'm supposed to do, and it is a big thing if she doesn't settle down. It just changed my thought. So, a lot of things, they may not be very big things in your life, but they're very important things in your life, which, it's not about earning millions of dollars or something. It's something very close to your heart, anything it can be. How do you attach yourself to it? And how do you let go? Yeah, that's the two learnings that I felt we have to understand. Because everything is not for you. And of course, as our knowledge says, that everything that happens is a good for you. Nothing is bad in your life. And I think that really helps you switch your mind to a space of acceptance. Because if you know that whatever is happening in your life is for your best, whether you want it this way, it's happened that way, it's still the best for you. So it just changes your world around you, and you see things, you may have a stereotype way of looking at life, because that's how traditionally it's followed and been done with. And I think I have had a lot of traditions that I've had to break in my personal life, which I expected that it should happen this way. It should happen. It was in my head. The ऐसे ही होता है, और ऐसे ही होना चाहिए. And it's come always. There have been a lot of learnings for me in that, because I've had to break those barriers in my life to move forward. Otherwise, it didn't come like it was on a platter in front of me and said, you take this. So today I also thank myself for the challenges that the human being that I've become today is because I've not received everything on a plate and said, chalo ye le lo. Although I come from such a renowned family, but it wasn't like everything was there sitting in front of me and they're saying, yeah, take it. It wasn't like that. So I think, whatever lessons you learn in life, if you learn it well, it takes you somewhere good only.
No, that's the point.
I've reached my real path.
Yeah.
Business was what I thought was my real life. But when I came here, I realized where my goal is. And I had not recognized it till I came to Rajyoga.
Yeah. No, you covered so many parts in this journey, right? Like when you fight and resist, it's your state of mind. The moment you put yourself in a positive state, you will do the right things because things will only get better from there. And I think the most important part is that, in life, when we see or we hear the word surrender in the outer world, the weak surrender. One is, if you've seen wars, it is always the stronger person will make the weak person surrender. But in the inner world, I think it takes strength to surrender. You can only surrender in the inner world when you are strong. And I think this journey, right, I think it's very important for people to understand that the ultimate strength when you are being able to build that in the inner world is surrender. And that's powerful, letting go. We all talk about it, but very hard to do. How should one look at this word surrender, letting go? It comes up with many people because you just hold on to something.
4 words we take from you now. Surrender, letting go, attachment and detachment, because they're very connected to each other also. So surrender is something we've not understood what the word surrender means. We thought surrender because we were taught as children, Bhagwan pe chhod do. So we thought, aise kaise chhod do matlab? Then chhod do. To Bhagwan karega. Then some people use it in the wrong way. Chalo Bhagwan pe chhod do, wo karenge. But that is not going to happen. You are the doer. The doer you are, but you're not the controller. Doer in the sense, karama, like she said, karna to hai. But the attachment to things being my way, and second, the attachment of what is being done on the state of my mind. So what is attachment and what is detachment? She's still parenting, she's still doing business, but she is shifting from a journey of attachment while parenting and while doing business to a journey of detachment, right? That's the thing. So the doing remains the same. What is attachment and what is detachment? So attachment means my mind was attached to the outcome of what I'm doing. My mind was attached to what people were behaving with me. Everything, my mind was getting affected by that. So actually we don't realize that emotional dependence actually means emotional attachment. Like even if here comes a situation and I get affected by it, which means I'm emotionally dependent on that situation, which means I'm emotionally attached to that situation. Now what is detached from that situation? Situation is there. My mind is not getting affected by the situation, so I'm detached. Family member is there, taking care of them, probably doing better than what we were doing before because we are internally also creating the higher energy, but not getting affected by what they say, they do. If it's not my way, it's my way. So that is detachment. So people feel detachment makes you aloof or makes you indifferent. That's not detachment. Detachment shifts you to becoming unconditionally accepting and loving. So the highest state of detachment is where I will not get affected by anything outside, which means even the health of my body will not affect my mind. Then I'm detached from my body also, where her behavior will not affect me in a good way or in the negative way. Even like if she praises me, if it doesn't affect me, then that is detachment. Situations up and down not affecting me, it's detachment. So the higher the soul power goes, your detachment increases because your dependency is reducing. But we are living in a world of attachment where we say, they said this to me, so I'm hurt, this happened, so I'm stressed. So we're living totally in a world of attachment. Now, if I'm living in a world of attachment, how do I surrender? because my mind is attached to all these things. So how can I surrender? I don't, because my mind is dependent on all these things. So when you start experiencing detachment, means your mind is what it is, happy, or even if I'm creating any negative emotions, even if I create hurt right now, I'm aware that I'm creating the hurt. So I'm not saying I'm hurt because of him or her. So I'm detached. So I can see my hurt, I can understand my emotion, then I have to work on it, then I change my thought for the other person, and I have to heal myself. So it's totally a journey of detachment. Even though the stimulus remains the same, earlier it was attachment saying, they hurt me, now cry inside, talk to 5 people about it, they hurt me, then wait for them to change, for my mind to get healed. Total attachment. Now detachment, they did what they did, I'm creating all this here, change your thought, don't try to change them. Total detachment. Stimulus is the same, but the way of living has changed. So when that detachment comes, your mind and how it feels is no more dependent on the outside world. So which means the inner world is independent now of the outer world. Once this happens, then flowing with how the outer world is going becomes very easy, because your mind is not dependent on the outer world. But if my mind is dependent on the outer world, then I want you to be a certain way, then I want this podcast to be a certain way, then I want my body. So when that goes and you are like, I am fine, let's see where tomorrow takes me, you're fine with flowing, because whether it takes you on a simple path tomorrow or whether it takes you on a rugged terrain, your mind is not dependent on that. Surrender becomes very easy. And so surrender doesn't mean you stop doing anything. Surrender just means whatever comes, I am ready to flow with it. And if the mind is in a good state, they'll create magic through wherever they flow, because their happiness is not dependent on that terrain, of that path, of that life. And when you start practicing this, it's magic. It's nothing less than magical, because the path that it takes you is something that your logical mind and intellect would have never thought of only. It would, in your attachment world, would have never thought of that thing only, because you're allowing a higher being to be a part of your life and not say, do this for me, mera ye kaam kara do. No, I am available and I'm ready to flow in any direction. You can use me. But that doesn't mean only in a spiritual way. In business, with an attachment, you will be very focused. This is it. This is how it has to be. Just surrender and say, I'm available and you can touch me what is right for today, and I'll move in that direction, because I don't have a fixed agenda of my life has to be like this. I am very open to the idea of changing it next minute, next day. It has to be experienced to realize how beautiful it is.
Yeah. No, I completely relate to it.
It's beautiful.
And I think living that on a day-to-day basis is really the shift that people need to be able to bring, recognize it, make the thing work, and instead of, 2 hours in the morning to 8 hours in a day to 24 hours, actually becoming that. And then what you say, the path is always a creative path. Creativity actually stands a little away from, logic and sometimes, and therefore we see creative people. And what you're doing also, you chart a path which is not there, painters, artists, and you see them express themselves very differently, because that source of that expression is coming, and sometimes those become valuable too. Like we just heard of the paintings of Hussein, and who is paying value for that is also somebody else, because they're seeing something that is valuable. And I think the same, even in your work. So I think it's a great journey of creativity, tapping into the inner energy, the soul power, to be able to recognize yourself, and through that journey, actually shape not only your own life, but even the life of so many others. I think it's been such a joyful conversation, having you here, Deepika, taking us through your life, your journey, and of course with Sister Shivani here, enriching and enlightening our audiences on so many little pieces of, how you can live a blissful life. Again, thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You too can start or enhance your mindfulness journey using the ThinkRight app on iOS and Android store. It's got a huge number of daily affirmations, daily journeys, daily meditations that will enable us to hold your hand as you move in this transformative journey of life.